back to Auto Off Topic. How
Did
you,
we
Brad?
ever? Did we ever go away?
We take vacations.
It's true. I don't think we missed a week this time, though. We're good. Anyway, yes, welcome back. As in, it's been a week. Welcome back. I'm good, Andrew. How are you today?
Pretty good. We've got the wettest July on record here in New England.
Would you go so far as to say it was moist?
It's very moist.
Yes.
Everything's moist. It was actually a joke today on the news that they're like, so and so, the weather guy. They're like, did we register any rain today? He's like, actually no, because we literally had up until today we had 1 day without rain in this month.
That's good. It's the 22nd today, for reference.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Pretty
days
crazy.
of rain. It's a lot of days of rain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be China. They got their entire year's worth of rain in a day.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good. So I guess we'll live with a little bit of rain. It's actually, honestly, to make it a full weather episode.
I was going to say, I hear it's monsoon season out where you are.
It's been pretty rainy here too. And I was here last year and the year before, because I've been here over 2 years now. And
weird.
Yeah, strange, right? But the monsoon, you can't say monsoon season. That's like saying ATM machine. You know that, right?
Why?
So the word monsoon literally means the rainy season. That's the word means. So saying monsoon season is like saying, ATM machine.
Or VIN number.
VIN number, yeah. VIP person. So it's the same thing. So you just say monsoon.
Okay.
Because the Latin word or whatever.
Actually.
Yes. Well, hey, listen, we strive to be as accurate as possible on the Auto Off Topic podcast, but it is monsoon here, and we actually have had an actual monsoon this year.
What if I were to call it Monsoon season?
You'd just be wrong, and I wouldn't be correcting you. You just look like a fool. So it here in monsoon, it has been pretty rainy actually, and it's been kind of nice. There's been some storms, some pretty heavy winds, some real big rainstorms up north in the mountains. So it's actually been nice. Thankfully, it hasn't rained out any events yet. So all of like the Saturday, Sunday events have still gone on. We actually had one of the 4 till 4 cars and coffees last week where I literally felt like I was back in Massachusetts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was probably 85 degrees and it was 57% humidity.
Whoa, 57%.
Hey, listen, that's pretty moist for somebody who lives in Arizona now. And honestly, that's probably an average day in New England in the summertime. Some of the other days get higher, obviously, but I'd say an average day is 85 and 60% or so, right?
Yeah. I mean, we went to Lime Rock on Saturday.
Yep.
For the IMSA race. It's always hot because it's the hottest race of the year.
Yep.
Because it's New England in July. And it either makes it the whole day being really hot and then thunderstorms, or thunderstorms like during the day, which the race ended up getting red flagged with like an hour to go because of lightning.
Oh, was it lightning? Because they'll run in the rain as long as it's not an actual electrical storm, right?
Well, yeah, and that I think they don't run if it's going to be like downpours, because then they can't see and it's just dangerous. So
yeah, I think they'll run to the point of a certain length of visibility and pooling water on the track, because if its corners are underwater and they just can't run safely.
It's not like the old days where they just run it.
Yeah.
And like you see that old picture of Sebring and like they're up to their ankles in water. It's not
right.
It's not like that anymore. They just
cars are now boats.
But anyway, it was like 85, 90 in the sun, and it had to be like 80% humidity because it had just been raining. So all the sun comes out and then all that moisture comes out of the grass. And like we just melted. We like first sat down, because of course there's like a couple of big trees there in the big hill, and like everybody's like under the trees. And we're like, I don't really see any space. So we like sat down in the sun, and me and Stephanie and like our son Marco was like, we're all like so hot. We're like, all right, I like looked. There's a little bit of shade. We like moved over there. Like, this is much better.
Just sitting under a blanket in the field. Yeah. I don't know I don't think I've ever been there for an IMSA race. Maybe I have once.
Yes, you have.
I don't remember. Yes, I have been one time.
Yep.
and it was hot.
Yeah,
So
it's
was it a good
usually
race?
um I don't know. They didn't run the prototypes. It was just GT cars.
GT cars, yeah.
So it was a cleaner race because they're not multi-class really. I
Well, the
mean, you had
prototype
two.
cars were running somewhere this weekend, weren't they?
No, they just.
I
I
thought it was a
think
different event.
for simplicity and for safety, they just don't run them at Lime Rock anymore.
Track's too small.
Yeah, and just their speed, kind of lame, but I kind of get it. Yeah. And really, the thing is, like, they did run them, I think, 2 weekends in a row at Watkins Glen this year.
Okay,
So you could just go out there. It's not that much further.
right.
It kind of is, but it isn't
Yeah, I
at
was
the
gonna
same
say
time.
it's twice. It's at least twice, probably a little more
Yeah, it.
from where you are.
Yeah, but it was still cool because there wasn't like a ton of yellow flags. It was just like green flag the whole time.
And Corvette won, right? Jordan Taylor,
Yeah,
Daniel
they
Garcia,
he on the pole won. Just the RSR Porsche couldn't catch him.
stayed up front the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, and because his teammate was right behind him, so they're just kind of, running, uh, shake and bake, right?
Right. That's the number 23 car, I think, right? Or number 4 car. Number 3 and number 4, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's a
Not.
C8 now. It's a new Corvette, mid-engine Corvette, right?
It is. I haven't seen them run yet. I haven't heard them yet. They sound totally different than the old Corvettes.
Well, the
But I
old
guess
Corvettes were brutal.
yeah, they're more European. I guess they switched to a flat plane.
Okay.
I don't think they sound as good. I think the old Corvettes sounded better. They sounded more American.
Well, you sent me a video clip of the Porsche going around, and it was pretty loud.
That thing was crazy loud.
Yeah.
I was there with actually listener Steve Booten and his buddy went there too. We hung out for a bit.
Oh, cool. I saw
And
you posted there. I wondered if you saw him there.
oh yeah, we hung out. I couldn't
Good.
remember. I can't remember his friend's name, but his friend was like, "Yeah, that Porsche like tickles your brain because
Yeah,
it's
it's loud.
just the right frequency. You could feel your ear bones like vibrating in your head, like because they're just being over vibrated."
Yeah, it's a pretty loud car. Just in that video, I could tell it was a pretty loud car. So,
But cool race. We didn't get there early enough to catch the other races because we were trying to plan it with
was
a
it
15-month-old.
Jesse that was there with him?
Oh,
Jesse.
I'm really bad with names.
Okay. Well, sorry, Jesse, if you're listening. If it was you,
Uh,
I have to assume it was. That's who usually goes with him.
he looked familiar. I couldn't remember.
That's okay. We'll let it slide. Steve, don't get mad at Andrew. He doesn't know things.
No, I don't. But anyway, yeah, cool race. I got a cool shirt actually because we were so sweaty. I was like, I should buy us all some shirts on the way back, so we didn't have to sit in like sweaty clothes. Because usually bring extra shirts, but it's an IMSA shirt. And the back of it is all like sports cars and prototypes from the 80s.
Okay.
And the very bottom of it, it's just a collage of it. The very bottom of it just says the Grady's.
It says the what?
The Grady's.
Okay.
And I just thought it was a cool shirt.
I don't understand. What does it mean?
Like the 80s, it just says the Grady's.
Oh, Great Ease. Okay.
Great
I got you.
Ease.
I heard Grady, like somebody's last name. Like, I was like, who's Grady? I don't understand. That's cool. I'll check it out.
So yeah, that was cool. And then Sunday was Mistlewood Concours d'Elegance.
All kinds of events in New England this weekend.
And it unfortunately rained.
Yep.
Like it seemingly has done for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Although it only rained in the morning and then it kind of broke and was just gray, and that's fine. And enough people still brought cool stuff.
Yeah, well, the nature of a concourse, stuff is mostly trailered. So they're more willing to bring it out in the rain because it just gets wet, sitting on the field. It doesn't actually get driven in the rain and driven in wet traffic around people who don't know how to drive in the rain. So at least it has a chance of cool stuff showing up. I'm sure there are a few cars that did not show because of that. But
yeah. I was trying to think. I definitely have never seen a Silver Ghost before.
Yeah, there aren't many of them.
Yeah, that was super, super cool. That was probably.
And I guess the cool thing about that car is that was an actual race-winning vehicle.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was the actual vehicle that won the 1914. Um, it was a race in Europe. It was like an endurance race. Um,
Oh, it would have been like pre Lamaha. I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm forgetting it because it's from the turn of the century.
yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's probably like, it's not the Vanderbilt Cup, but it's probably one of those type things, like a, some
I
folks
had
were
everything. I
cup.
had everything all set to say what it was, and then I didn't save it, and now I've lost it. My father will yell at me because he talked about it with me already.
I'll have to look it up. Darn. All right. Anyway,
Yep, I blew it. Sorry,
I
guys.
think I think I've got a book that probably talks about it. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, if I took some time here and searched back, I could find it, but I don't think that's the best podcast fodder here. So we'll skip that.
Hold on. Pause for a second.
1914 Alpine Trails.
Okay.
So that's what it was. The
All
1914
right.
Alpine Trails. Gotcha.
All right. Cool. Yeah. And you're like, you see pictures of these things from period. You're like, Silver Ghost. Maybe it's silver. I don't know. But yeah, it's actually silver, like a silvery gray. Like, it's a really cool color.
Yep. Yeah, they're super cool looking.
And the cool thing is, like, those cars, that was like pinnacle peak technology from 1914. Like, that is the, I don't know if it would be a Bugatti Veyron right now. What's the new McLaren?
The Jesco.
Oh, I don't even know that one. I'm just talking about the newest McLaren.
Yeah, I think it's a Jesco, isn't that it? Or is that the...
What's the one that he just like debuted last year?
Oh, the TI, a T1?
Yeah, that would be like the
Yeah,
equivalent.
man, I am so behind the times.
Yeah, clearly.
Supercars. I don't.
Yeah.
So the Jesco's not even a McLaren; it's a Koenigsegg.
Okay.
So the Koenigsegg Jesco is like the new ultimate Koenigsegg. So then the McLaren the T1. I think they call it T1.
I think so.
Yeah. We're definitely not the podcast to listen to if you want up-to-date supercar information.
No.
We definitely do not have that.
No, it kind of ruins my metaphor, but that's my point, is that the 1914 Silver Ghost is that car from 100 years ago.
Right. It was the pinnacle of technology.
Yeah.
Didn't get any better.
Yeah, because they could just take it and just race it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you said something weird about the engine too on it. The way it had like a...
He was just, the guy that owned it was just running it for people, and then he had it running, I guess, on one coil. It had dual coils for redundancy.
Okay.
Or it could just run, or it could just, like, if one went bad, it could continue to run. And he just had it idling there, and it sounded really weird because it was just missing. And I was like, is that really the way it sounds? And then, because I heard it from like far away, and because it like drew a crowd. And then he was fiddling with the, because they have the ignition timing controls on the steering columns in these old cars from that era.
Sure.
He fiddled with it, and then all of a sudden it was idling. It sounded like a normal, like, 4-cylinder. Which I don't even know if it's a 4 or 8, 6.
Man, you didn't do any research, Andrew. No research.
I don't know anything about these old cars.
Or we don't know anything about old cars or new cars we've learned. So we should probably just shut this thing down right now.
Yeah, that's it. Close it up. 100-year-old cars I don't know anything about.
Yeah, so they were 40 horsepower. I think they were 6 cylinders. I know they were 40 horsepower. I also know that, they were
probably
built,
like a 4-liter 6-cylinder.
Yeah, they were built, right?
No, I don't.
So there were two factories.
They built in
there were
England?
there were two factories that built Rolls-Royce at the time. One was in England, one was in the United States. Their United States branch was in Springfield, Mass.
Oh, I thought that was there another car company there?
There's been a bunch of car companies in Massachusetts over the years, but Rolls-Royce was one of the big ones in the early days. So it looks like, I'm looking right now, the Silver Ghost, between the years of 1906 and 26, they made 7,800 of them in various, states. Mm-hmm. They were a 6-cylinder car, a 429 6-cylinder, which is 7,000 cc's. So it's a 7-liter 6-cylinder.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's cool. So it won the Alpine Trials in 1914, which is like I guess a early version of like a Monte Carlo rally kind of
Yeah.
event. So super cool car. My father got to take a ride in it. Actually, I was a little jealous.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's cool.
he sent me pictures in the passenger seat, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, there's some other cool stuff there. What? Oh yeah, it was an AutoZam.
Yeah, there was a couple things I saw pictures of. I was a little strange to see an AutoZone there. It seems a little new for a concourse, unless there was a theme that I was unaware of, but just
Yeah,
didn't seem to fit in the crew. That's a '90s car.
there's a
So
Pontiac Woody wagon.
like a 38 that style, or like a
Yeah,
48. Yeah, okay.
38 with
Oh,
a
the green
straight eight.
one. It looked like
No, it was no, it was maroon or burgundy.
was the
The
one parked
straight
over by the
eight.
building.
It's parked on the other side of the Silver Ghost. They're
Oh,
parked
okay.
parallel to each other.
I did not see that. I saw the Woody wagon that was parked up on the top of the hill by the building. Again, I wasn't there. I'm just going based on pictures I saw. So we have to talk to them about getting their social media presence up a little bit because it was hard finding pictures after the event.
Yeah, and I think your dad was saying he had just had some trouble because the ground was so wet with just moving cars
Moving
around.
cars was difficult this year, and it always is there. I remember one of the years I was there and it was raining. We had to get, we had to leave lanes wider than normal to get cars through, so you couldn't put cars where you wanted them because, these cars have these skinny little tires on them and the grass gets wet, and the grass, they don't keep it super short there. So it's very slippery, and the last thing you want to do is slide a $1 million car into the side of a $4 million car.
Yeah, or just dig it into the ground because it gets stuck in the mud.
Yeah, tearing up mud, tearing up the yard, getting mud inside these, multi-million-dollar restorations, scraping a tree or a building. It's all kinds of bad things can happen. So rain is not the ideal situation there. And, the property there is like rolling hills.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a big flat area where you can just park anything. It becomes difficult when it starts raining. So I feel bad. It's almost like they should move it to later in the year just to maybe get a drier.
Well, the problem with is they use it it's a wedding venue.
Yep.
And if you moved it to like September, that's like peak wedding season around here.
Right.
Nobody gets married in the middle of July here because it's
always going to rain.
It's rainy, or it's hot and humid.
Yep.
So, yeah. But anyway, it's a cool show. If you're in Eastern Massachusetts, Eastern New England, you should definitely check it out next year.
Yeah, it's worth a couple hour drive at least. I mean, it's definitely a neat take. It's
high caliber cars.
Yeah, it's the only kind of concourse kind of thing you're going to see anywhere, in this area or in that area. So it's definitely worth it.
Oh, well, I think the closest would be
Greenwich,
Greenwich and the Drain.
And Rhode Island, they have one there too.
I believe so.
Yep.
So
it's not our scene, but we make it our scene for a day usually. I really wanted to be there this year, but I'm going to be in Massachusetts for a long time between the rally and the hill climb and some other stuff. So I wasn't going to be able to make it out for this, but maybe next year I'll be there. We'll see, because there won't be a hill climb next year. So maybe I'll come home for, the week of the concourse into the weekend of the rally.
Right.
So hopefully it'll be easier next year and have to take a whole month home. So yeah, cool. I'm glad you went. I'm glad it was a good time. So, and I'm glad that you had like your first like full car weekend with Marco. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was fine with the noise. I mean, we tried to put little ear protection things on him. He didn't want to. So
right.
I don't know. Who knows? He's only 15 months. Maybe he was interested in it. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's cool that's a cool dad moment that, hey, you got to take your kid to car stuff all weekend long, and you can't force your kid to like something, but you can take him to things you like, and if he winds up liking it, then hey, all the better, right?
Yep.
So that's how we got into it. Our dads were like, hey, come do car stuff with us.
Yeah, we'll probably try to go to the Historics and do a longer day because it's also not as loud.
It depends on the cars that are out there.
I think they ran the Trans Ams last year. The vintage Trans Ams are what's loud. Everything else is not that loud.
Say vintage Trans Ams are loud. Vintage NASCARs are loud, but they don't really run those there.
No.
And like the 80s GTP cars are very loud, but they don't run those there either.
Don't run those there either. Yep. It's more It's more cars that are, well, they're vintage. They're not that loud, and I think usually
It's
places
production
people,
based, usually like turn of the century through like 1960s
yeah,
and 70s.
and when people aren't using them, they're usually at track days with noise limits, so they're really not that loud.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, that's my favorite weekend there for sure. But unfortunately, I will not be there this year. So that's okay. And unfortunately, I'm also missing. I wanted to go to Monterey this year because it's happening. It didn't happen last year, but I didn't think about that when I planned my trip back to Massachusetts.
oh,
And it's during that same time period. So I'll
you
have to go to
haven't gone at
Monterey.
all
I
since you've been
haven't.
out there.
I haven't. The first year I couldn't make it just because of logistics. The second year I was like, yeah, we're definitely going to go to Monterey for all of Car Week. And then, we all know what happened in 2020. So it's back on this year. And I wasn't even thinking about it when I planned my trip out there. And I'll be there in Massachusetts during Monterey.
When's
So
when's Japanese nostalgic car show? When's that?
JCCS, Japanese Classic Car Show.
Yes. Sorry.
All right. So there's two big important shows out here for Japanese stuff. Well, there's three now, actually, but the two big ones are the Route 66 Classic, which is in Arizona, and that's the first weekend in October, the second.
Okay.
And then there's Japanese Classic Car Show in October, the last weekend in October in Long Beach. So,
Oh, it's the last week in October. All
yep.
right.
So we have a little bit of time between there.
Okay.
So,
all right. Maybe
if you're out here for either of them, you will have to go to them.
yeah, maybe I can make one of them. There is some. I do have some work trips coming up. I might have to be in LA area.
Well, if you're in LA area for the 30th weekend, then you are
Yeah,
good to go.
it depends on some.
And if you're not in LA until November, then Radwood's in LA in November too. So who knows?
Yeah, there's some stuff we have to do out there. So
Yep.
it's either in. I'll probably have two trips. I'll probably be out in September and likely in October. So,
Well, hopefully you can get out there for one of the events. So even if you're in LA for the Route 66 one, that'd be worth taking a drive back because it's actually probably only 4 hours from LA. But anyway.
yep.
Anyway, all future news. Unimportant. We can plan that off air.
Yeah, well, we like talking the clock. We like talking. Yeah, we like talking about events though.
Yeah, for sure.
Like so while we're on, I might as well do this before the end of the podcast. So while we're on talking about events, so last weekend because it rained, Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee, our friend Malin moved it to this weekend, which would be the 24th Sunday.
Okay. 25th.
Sunday. No, 25th. Sorry.
Yep.
And again, it's tentative again because it might rain. If it does rain again, then she'll cancel it for July. But if not, it's go online, look at her Facebook page, Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee, and she'll have all the up-to-date info for it. So
excellent. And if you're in Arizona this weekend, big news. So the longest running weekly car show in the country is the Pavilions show here. They call it the Rock and Roll Car Show is the official name of it.
PAVS
is the locals call it. It kind of shut down a little bit during the COVID times, and they weren't allowing anybody to hang out. Then they opened it back up as a pre-reg only, like to limit their numbers. Mm-hmm. I just learned that it is now fully opened, but because it's the middle of summer, they're doing it early in the morning. So
instead of at night.
Correct. So for the following Saturdays for the rest of the summer until October, it's going to be early in the morning. And then starting on October 2nd, it's going to go back to that nighttime format. So
that was the best cruise night I'd ever been to. That was so cool.
Yeah, it's a very informal show, but formal. Like there's no awards or any of that kind of stuff, but they do rope the parking lot off and have music, and there's nothing that doesn't belong there. So that's starting again. I'll be sure to be there this Saturday morning. I was actually thinking, Andrew, and we'll talk about this off air, not doing it this time, but after I come back, maybe making like an informal auto off topic meetup there, kind of see if we can get some like-minded people together to hang out there when we have events, and maybe we can do the same thing out there. So
yeah, not official, folks. We'll let you know if we do something.
Yeah, not official. I'm talking about, getting like-minded people together, once a month, not every event, but just to kind of have some sense of something like that. Anyway, just a thought. Talk about it later. More
All
stuff
right.
to talk about later. So that's pretty big news out here because that show's been running since I don't know when. It's billed as the longest continuous running car show in the country.
I mean, people have talked
So
about it like going there in the '90s, so it's definitely
yeah,
like probably
no,
from the '80s.
yeah, it's definitely a neat thing. The setting is cool, which you wouldn't think it would be because it's like a strip mall parking lot, but it's lined with palm trees and there's good lighting and you can see the sunset from there and all the mountains around you. So it's a cool place. And the stuff that shows up, you never know it's going to be there. It could be anything uh, a Veyron to a Rolls Royce Silver Ghost. Like that kind of stuff shows up there randomly sometimes. There's some real big blue chip cars and some guy in his Miata. So it's everything and anything in between. It's a good time. All right, moving on. Any car projects, Andrew?
Not this week. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I haven't touched anything since coming back from Radwood. But I will say, I told the story last week of coming back from Radwood having windshield issues
Yeah.
or getting windshield issues on the way to Radwood. I always hoped I'd never have to put any kind of a claim in with Haggerty, but I will say that they are super easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, super easy. So at least for a windshield claim, they didn't really ask too many questions, just when it happened and how long the crack was, and then didn't ask for any pictures. And they, I guess, called a bunch of places in this area and got quotes, and they're sending me a check for the average.
Oh.
And if
Okay.
it's more than the average, they said just send them the bill and they'll pay direct to the shop.
Okay.
So, or I'll pay it and they'll cover me either way. But still, it's super easy. No issue at all. And I have a no deductible glass policy, so I'm able to just get my glass fixed and not worry about it. So now I need to find a proper glass shop because I want to make sure that's installed properly this time.
Yeah.
So, and as you know, with a first gen DSM, you have those screwed on moldings that go all the way to the back of the car that have to come out to do the glass. So
Yeah.
you need to make sure those are handled properly.
But hopefully it's more likely that you'll get a glass company out there that does older stuff because older stuff exists.
Yes, I'm asking around to try to find the right place. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to bring it to Safe Light. Let's put it that way.
No, that's the problem with around here.
It's not
There's a lot
around.
of
It's not just
places.
around there. We could have a whole podcast.
Let's just say there's Safe Light has a likely monopoly on.
They're running an insurance scam and they're getting away with it.
Yeah.
So,
And
if you call your insurance company and you hit the glass company button, the glass coverage button, it's like press 3 for glass coverage. It probably transfers you to a Safe Light rep.
Yeah.
So it's not kosher in my mind, and it's technically not legal, but somehow they're getting away with it.
Yeah.
And they also do terrible work. So, and I can say that from personal experience.
It's just slapdash work, right? It's just they're trying to get the most done.
Yeah,
It's not like going to.
It's like go to McDonald's for a good burger. You're not going to get a good burger at McDonald's. You're going to get something
Yeah.
that's passable as a burger and gets you through. You're going to get your glass installed, and it will be installed, but will it be properly installed? Probably not.
They do it as quickly as possible to make as much money as possible.
Yep.
But there's usually independent shops, glass shops, so go to one.
Yeah, and there's 2 I can recommend in Salem, but I haven't lived out here long enough to know, and I don't work in the auto body industry out here. So, and unfortunately, I don't even know many people in the auto body industry out here because the insurance company that I currently work for, we do claims over the internet in California. So I don't even have any auto body connections out here, unfortunately. But I've been asking around a little bit, and I'll find a good place. But I got one shop in mind already.
Oh, I did get. I got all my fluids in. I got to change fluids in the Galant for the track day. So
you're doing a Galant track day, not a G20 track day.
Yeah, at Thompson, I'll do the Galant.
Okay.
And I've got another one the week after the Loudon. I'll probably do the Galant. Depends on how it goes.
Okay.
The G20 is the backup.
Okay.
I did register for one at Lime Rock because I've always wanted to run at Lime Rock.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If you don't break a minute, you don't get back on the podcast.
Yeah. That I'll probably run the G20 at because uh, it's a little bit of a scarier track.
Yeah, a little less speed would be probably good.
Yeah. I've run Loudon before
Yep.
for an actual track day and also at the end of a TSD a couple times that we
Yeah,
used to
I've
do
done it at the end of a TSD, but I've never
in the middle of the night.
with no lights.
Just the lights in the car.
Yep.
With
Somehow
a wink and a nod, it was like, don't go too fast. Wink, wink.
yeah. Somehow he didn't die. I did go off track as a passenger. I did. We did put it backwards into the infield, but I was not driving. So I've never done a track day in all my years of being a car enthusiast, which is probably something I should rectify. So I was actually, when you started talking about doing track days, I started looking them up out here, and there are a ton. So
yeah,
I
it's
will.
a lot more common now.
Yeah,
and
a lot more accessible. I think is what it is. I think we used to think it was a $2,000 day because it probably was.
Well, they used to be more time trials was more common.
Yep.
And now it's now more lapping days.
Right.
Because people just want to do casual stuff.
Well, yeah, you don't want to have to have all these rules of roll cages and fire systems and all that kind of stuff.
And modern cars are so fast, you can't possibly use them on the street. So just having a lapping day, is really cool. And Thompson, I've seen one there, a track day.
Okay,
and it's a pretty flat track, like it's pretty uncomplicated, I'm told. So that's why I'm doing the Glot there.
It's like
a novice class, anyways. They take you out for a parade lap, and
it's like a permanent autocross track.
No, it's a full size track.
I know, but I'm saying like it's flat, like an autocross track. There's no elevation change or anything.
Yeah, I don't think there is. Maybe there's a little bit, but it's not like the downhill at Lime Rock,
right?
That's cool. It's funny because when you just like Road America or Road Atlanta, when you play them in the video games, the elevation change doesn't register at all. And when you're actually there, you're like, oh, this is a really big hill.
Yeah, the elevation change in a video game at Lime Rock doesn't show up very much. You definitely feel it at Road Atlanta, though, because that uphill after turn 1 is pretty steep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty steep. And low-powered cars in the video games struggle. So I definitely noticed that. But yeah, Lime Rock flattens out in a video game.
Yeah, I just got some like MT90 and Motul for the brakes, and just I realized I probably changed the gear oil when I switched the clutch out when the transmission was leaking. That was like 5 years ago now, and I don't think I've changed the brake fluid in 10 years.
Yeah, you should probably do that before track day.
That needs to be done, and I know that maybe the transfer case and gear oil. It's been definitely the rear end was when I put the car together. So it's like 10 years. And the transfer case was probably done when I pulled the transmission. But it's good to change that stuff. And then the G20, I'm going to put the same in the gearbox and that. And I don't know, that I needed to change that anyways.
Yeah, who knows when that was ever done, if ever.
Yeah, so sort of fresh brake fluid because I did the brakes, but that'll get Motul too.
Transmission fluid is one of those things, or manual transmission fluid or gear oil is one of those things that's overlooked a lot in car maintenance, and people don't do it. So
yeah, like the old WRX was getting real notchy, and I was like, this kind of sucks. And then I asked our buddy Keith, I was like, when was the last change this? And he's like, like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, really? So
as
soon as I changed it, it was like so much better. It stopped grinding. It was like just breaks down.
Yep.
And then I like MT90. It's like technically it's like 75-90, but it's like 90 weight when it's hot.
Okay.
And then 75 when it's cold, so you can still shift it when it's cold.
I remember the hot setup used to be the Synchro Mesh.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's good stuff. I've run MT90 in my Subarus, which I don't know, it's GL4, and I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember the specs, but it worked pretty good. I remember running it in the STI. That was a good oil for that, and I got all the stuff from STM Tuned.
Okay.
I don't know, like internet site like came up when I was looking for gear oil, but they listed a bunch of like Mitsubishi stuff too. They
Well,
carry.
yeah, they're a Mitsubishi, like they're a DSM Evo place.
Yeah, but they must have moved into other vehicles because they had a bunch of other vehicles listed on the site. But it was cool because they had all the transmission and the transfer case and the rear diff drain plugs and the gaskets, and I was like, those are like 30 years old now. I'll buy them from you because they're only like $2 a piece.
Yeah, you might as well, especially crutch washers and stuff that are in there.
Yeah,
So I should
which I
probably
might have
actually,
changed when I put the car together, but
I should probably do the fluid in everything, but definitely in the clips too, because I don't know when that was last done. I mean, it shifts pretty well, but it could probably shift better. So.
Yeah, it makes a difference. It's surprising. And supposedly the MT90 it doesn't have some chemical that like breaks down brass synchros, which is what these cars have. So I don't know. Go for it.
Hey, if it's better for it, do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not planning on going like super hard with this car either.
Oh, you're not drag racing either. You're not doing the whole like power shifting and trying to get the best lap time.
No,
or
no,
laps
no.
time.
Like I'll just shift it easy or whatever.
You can't win track days. You can only lose.
Exactly. I don't want to money shift the car, so
yeah.
Just be careful and kind of rusty doing the novice class. So,
I mean, it's probably the best way to do it. Get yourself back into it, and again, you can't win, so don't try.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one thing everybody always says: you can't win, so don't try to win because you're only going to lose.
Yeah.
So I think we all know at least one person probably who's spun off on a track day, and it's frowned upon. The organizers do not like it because the more crashes that happen, the harder it is to get more track days. So go out there, be polite, do it right, and have a good time versus a stressful time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I did buy a new GoPro.
Cool.
So
I look forward to at least seeing videos, and I'm sure most of the track days have photographers there now too, right? You can buy a print from.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
at least you can probably get a picture from outside of the car too. Maybe full lean in a corner or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Are you buying new tires, or are you running what you got?
They have plenty of tread on them. I mean, they're from 14.
But no miles, really.
Silence. Not a ton of miles.
I mean, 14 is fine in New England. That's what people have to understand. If you're listening to this in Phoenix, Arizona, a tire from 2014 is probably trash. But in Boston, that tire is fine.
They're in really good shape. I don't want to buy new ones until I wear them out, which will probably be after the next 2 track days.
Right. So you got to run on the 5 spokes then.
Yeah, that's all I have to run on.
Well, you have stock wheels and you have the OZs.
I have stock wheels with no tires, and the OZs have no tires on them because I gave the tires to you.
Right. I'm just saying you could run those wheels if you were buying tires. That's why the whole point was what wheels are we on the car for photographs.
Well, the pro races are a better wheel anyways. They're more newer.
Modern. Yeah.
They're not vintage.
They don't shake at all.
No.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to photos and videos. So, and of course, stories. Hopefully, not too many stories.
No, I mean, I'm running with a bunch of coworkers.
Oh, that's cool.
Which they're bringing. It sounds like they're bringing their car. They're turning into a track car for Chump.
Okay.
Bunch of engineers I work with. Yeah, they're gonna a couple different people are gonna drive it. So that should be interesting.
You work with car people professionally now too, because both of us have spent most of our entire adult life working in the car industry in places where there aren't any car enthusiasts. So
yeah, I'm like, so I guess our department's closed for that Thursday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, whatever, it happens.
Yeah, it's not like we have customer service or anything.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't. Y'all have PTO. You want to take it at the same time?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I've always wanted that. Like, it'd be cool to work in a place where other people that work there are car enthusiasts, which you would think you would get working in the car industry, but that's a big old lie. Most people in the car industry don't actually like cars. They just somehow wound up in the car industry.
Just in it for a paycheck.
Yep, which is quite annoying and makes it very hard to explain why you're an enthusiast to them because they don't understand.
No.
So, whatever. A couple other things to go into before we go into our topic for the evening. Couple of pedantic corrections.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So one is really dumb on both of our parts. We were talking about cam speed versus crank speed, and both of us were like, "Oh yeah, the cam spins twice as fast as the engine."
We do these late at night. I don't know.
Yeah, which both of us know is not true. So while the crank pulley on the bottom of the engine, the belts are on, is very large, the crank gear that either the belt or the chain is driven by is very small and very underdriven compared to the cam gears or for the belt or chain. So the cam generally spins at half the speed of the crank. So that's important to correct. And we both know that. And we've both had engines apart and put engines together and know how they work. But for some reason, we blew that one. So we both thought wrong for a minute there. And neither one of us thought to correct the other one. So, hey, at least we can admit when we're wrong, right?
Yeah. Who called us out on that?
I think it was Andy.
Yep. My dad did.
And your dad. And maybe a couple other people. But Andy McDonough did first. So we'll give
maybe
him...
I don't know. My dad, I think, did the next day.
Yeah, Andy was pretty close to the next day. So your dad didn't call it out. He called it out to you.
All right.
So the next thing is radar cruise. That was a callback from a while ago because I talked about coming back from a road trip behind another friend's vehicle and their brake lights being constantly on going downhill and being mad at them for riding their brakes. When it turns out that radar cruise, our friend Santiago told us, because he actually works in the OEMs, there actually is a federal requirement that under a certain rate of deceleration, regardless of the source, so whether it's for regen in an EV or a hybrid, or if it's radar cruise, or if it's you hitting the brake, under a certain rate of deceleration, the brake lights have to come on. So that's why it does that. It's not anything to do with the driver in the car. It's definitely an OEM setting, and it's a federal standard they all have to meet now, which I guess makes sense because if you have a brand new car coming down a hill and it jams on the brakes because something stopped in front of it, the car behind them is not a brand new car. It doesn't have auto cruise and auto brakes. No. The brake lights better be on so you know what's happening. So that's why it looks like when you're going down a mountain hill that even if the car is in, if it's downshifting to slow the car down, the brake lights will still come on. I don't know if that works on a manual transmission car that way. Probably not, but hey, maybe it does. Maybe it's all worked on speedometer speed now. But over a certain rate of deceleration, the brake lights have to come on in the car. So, interesting tidbit of fact. So, thanks to those guys for correcting us. I feel really dumb about the crank speed thing, or cam speed. I don't feel as dumb about the decel thing because that's a new thing. But we'll take our lumps on the cam speed. It is what it is. So, what do you want to talk about tonight, Andrew?
Some
43 minutes into the episode, talk about a topic.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah, that's fine. You want to talk about auction results?
We're giving you all the free content.
Yeah, all the free content you didn't want. All right, so I had an interesting thought today on auctions. Okay. You had sent me a Volkswagen Rabbit earlier this week.
Yeah,
you said, you said sold for what you thought was a pretty good deal. So
like 16 grand.
It was like 16 grand for a clean low mile GTI.
I don't even remember what site that was on.
I don't know either, but it was a clean low mile silver GTI, and it was a fair deal. I mean, the buyer and seller both did okay, but it got me thinking: like, when did Mark I GTIs become a $16,000 car? And it turns out it was July of last year.
Yeah.
So I went back into a bunch of auctions at Cars and Bids and on Bring a Trailer and any place where I could find a few auction cars. the move right now is to go to Cars and Bids.
Yeah.
There's been a couple on there. The one you sent me was actually from Cars and Bids, I think. No, no, it's not. I lied. That's wrong. I don't know where it was.
I don't know where it was either.
But here's the thing. So since 2021 started, there have been 3 Rabbit GTIs sold on Cars and Bids.
Yep.
The high water mark is $19,250.
Yep.
So that's the most expensive one. Now these were $2,500 cars forever when we were kids.
Forever.
Yeah, from
Up until
kids.
like July of
last year. July of last year seems to be when things went crazy.
Especially U.S. ones because they had square headlights. Nobody wanted them.
Yeah, but this $20,000 car has been restored.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's not a show car by any means. It's a very high quality driver. 150,000 miles on it. So it's not a slow mile car. It's not a low mile car. It's not, it's not a full windows out respray. It's just a partial restoration, or what I've always liked to call like a sympathetic restoration on a decent car. It's mostly stock. It's got what the Volkswagen people call a cup kit, which is H&R springs and probably Coney struts. But they sell them together and they call it a cup kit. I'm not sure where that comes from, but Volkswagen people always call that a cup kit. So it has a cup kit and an aftermarket radio, and that's about it for mods, and it's over $20,000.
Yeah.
Silver, classic GTI red stripe grille. It has the red and gray and black stripe seats. But the weird thing to me is that on the same site, Cars and Bids, another Rabbit GTI with under 100,000 miles. It says TMU, but it looks pretty low mileage. Same thing, mostly stock. Doesn't have modified suspension. It's stock suspension.
Headline is missing.
Yeah, it's not quite as nice, but it was $4,700. And the difference between 19,000 and 4,700 is, that's 4 of those cars. And you could certainly put a headliner back in the car for less than $15,000.
Yeah, and have the upholstery fixed.
Yeah, so it seemed like a strange market swing. And then I decided to dig a little bit more. And there was another one on here which had more miles, 190K. But again, that $20,000 car had 150K. A clean car, a little bit of faded paint. Air conditioning was removed. Other than that, not a terrible car. And that was $7,000. So there's a huge swing in the market for these cars. And we always talk about buy the car you want, not the car somebody tells you to buy. I'm telling you to buy a first gen GTI right now and put a little time and effort into it, and you can make some money on that car, it sounds like. Because both of these cars don't have, $12,000 to $15,000 worth of restoration in them to make them what that $20,000 car sold for. So while that $20,000 car might have been an anomaly on Cars and Bids, I went over to Bring a Trailer, and let me tell you, $20,000 is still on the high side, but they're all over 10. A low mile car sold for 32. But almost every car sold since July of last year has been over $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's a decent car that if you can get the right one, you can put the right time and effort into it and take the right pictures of it and sell it, and you can do pretty well. I don't think there's going to be any issues making a couple bucks on that. Now, that being said, April of last year, our friend sold one on here, Dexter VW.
Mm-hmm.
A super clean car, twin Webers, right wheels, suspension, bored out to a 2.1.
Yep.
All the right parts, and built by a very reputable guy. He's very well known in the VW world. Mm-hmm. It had a couple of paint issues, but his car sold for $7,000.
Yeah. So
it sounds like if he'd waited a couple of months, he might have made a couple more bucks on that car, because it blows my mind how much the market changed these cars that quickly. So I still want one. So ever since you sent me that $20,000 one the other day, they've been on my mind like crazy,
Mm,
and it's all I keep looking at is Mark One and Mark Two GTIs. It's one of those cars that I've always wanted. I had a Mark Two GTI for a minute that I put back together. If you don't remember it,
yep.
I put the motor back together in the car, and then somebody offered me way more money than I was into it for before I ever drove it. Um, we had it like stumbling running, but we never tuned it. And I think my total budget into the car was like $300. And some guy came around and gave me $2,000 for it. So at the time I sold it,
Yep.
um, but I'd never had one I could drive. So they're kind of on my brain right now, and I'm going to Massachusetts very soon. But I think when I come back, I might. These would be a very valid daily because they're simple. There's not a lot of mechanical things to worry about on these cars. Um, they kind of work and kind of run, and the AC components are easy to get. Maybe I'll try to pick up a decent driver GTI, Rabbit or Golf Mark One, Mark Two, as just as a daily out here because looking at cars that are for sale, I could get into one for a decent running driving car for less than $10,000. So I don't think I could lose any money on it. So this auction report took me down a path of bad places.
Yep.
So I don't like it. We gotta stop doing this podcast. Makes me spend my money.
Not my problem.
It is your problem because you gotta deal with it.
Nope. All right. Also, yeah, so those are hot. What else I've been looking at lately? Because our friends were asking about what's a cool car for like $50,000 to get.
Yeah, which is like we're like wrong people to ask. What's a cool car? $50,000? 10 Volkswagen Golfs.
Well, I mean, we kind of do know it's 996s.
Yeah, no question.
Oh man, they're like popping off. They're coming in their own. Like people are over the broken headlight, broken yolk headlight,
broken egg yolk. Yeah,
which I don't really care. I never I always liked them. That never bothered me. I thought that was cool looking.
Well, you said it earlier before we started the show that these were the new Porsches when we were teenagers.
Yeah, so they're cool.
We were like, hey, it's a new Porsche. How could it be bad?
But I don't know. Just in general, I was looking at a couple listings here. I don't want to go through each one, but you go from a non-turbo with an IMS bearing replacement that's like around $20,000 to a turbo car that's like high, like low to mid 50s.
The crazy thing about those turbo cars is
different engine.
The Metzger engine doesn't have the IMS, but the crazy thing about those cars is that they, performance-wise, were some of the highest performance cars available at the time. Like they were almost a supercar of the era, and they're $50,000. Like
they still destroy stuff now. Like you would not be disappointed with one.
Yeah, that market can't stay there. Those cars have to go up. There's no question because everybody wants the Metzger engine because it's the better engine from the regular standard 911 non-turbos because they don't have the IMS issues.
First of the water cooled.
Yeah.
They're future classics.
Yeah, I'd argue the point that they're collectible already and they're just starting to come into their own value wise.
Yep.
Because everybody knows the whole thing right now is that the Porsche market is like it's absurd. I mean, let's just call it what it is. The entire Porsche market
been absurd for the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's been more absurd than the past 5. The Porsche market for non-transaxle cars. I don't want to make this into a Porsche podcast because there's plenty of those to listen to, but the market is absolutely insane. And cars that were 10, 15 grand, 5 to 10 years ago are 75 to over 100 grand for some of them now. For some of these 964s and early 993s, even 993, cabriolets that nobody wanted are 50, 60 grand. So the fact that these turbo cars, which are some of the higher performing cars you can get for that entire era and even into the next era, is unbelievable to me. And I think that if you buy one now and you enjoy it as a occasional daily, sometimes take it to dinner, take it for a long drive, just enjoyment car, second car, you're gonna make money on it in another 5 years. So I don't understand why they're so cheap. I wish I had the ability to spend 50 grand on a car because that's what I would buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess I could sell a bunch of stuff and buy one, but that's not me either. So, but it's a cool car. I dig them, and for $50,000, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what else you would buy for 50 grand.
No.
So,
All right. I looked up the oldest car in Cars and Bids just for giggles. What do you think? I mean, any guesses?
On Cars and Bids, Cars and Bids is more like a daily driver kind of site.
I mean, it's got to be. It can't be older than 81.
So it's an 81.
No.
Cars and Bids only goes down to 81.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep. Enthusiast era cars. So like 81 to present. Or like 2005, I think.
I wonder what defines that as the enthusiast era.
I just did.
Oh.
But to me, it kind of is. Right? Like those are like modern enthusiast cars. They're
maybe modern classics, maybe. But I wouldn't even call it that.
I'm not going to go down this road right now.
Ford Explorers on there.
Forever.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, there are enthusiast cars in that era, but there certainly are many enthusiast cars built before 81. So
I don't know. Any random guess for it?
You said it's the oldest car?
Yeah.
So is it an 81?
No.
Okay. It's probably an 84 Corvette.
No, but it is a two-seat sports car with a V8.
So it's an 83 928.
Nope.
Oh, that's a four-seat sports car anyway. I blew that. Oh, God. So you're saying it's the oldest car in Cars and Bids. I'll give one more guess.
All right.
And it's a two-seat sports car with a V8, which means it's either going to be... It's not a Corvette, and it's not a 928 because that's four seats. It could be a Ferrari. I'm trying to think of what would have a V8.
It's fancy. Oh, technically it's a 2+2. Sorry, but they're very, very tiny back seats.
Okay. So is it a Mondial?
Nope.
Okay, I give up then. Give me a clue. Give me a clue.
It's British.
A TVR.
Nope.
Oh, Lotus at least. Lotus Elan. Lotus Esprit. I get there. Lotus Esprit.
Nope.
Because that wouldn't even, early ones, those weren't V8s. That was until the 90s.
No. Aston Martin V8.
Oh, V8 Volante. Okay.
Convertible. Silver over red.
And what year is that?
82.
Okay.
5-speed manual swap. It's a pretty cool looking car.
I never would have gotten there.
No, it's pretty random.
It's pretty obscure. Yeah. And if you said convertible, you would have thrown me off even more because I forgot the Volante came in a convertible.
Definitely pretty 80s looking.
Were they all convertibles? See, I think it's 70s looking. This is a very 70s car.
Yeah, it's kind of holdover, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, I dig it.
I don't think I'd want it, but it's cool.
I would drive it. Why not?
Yeah, I guess.
That's the kind of car you buy. You enjoy it for a year. If you only break down with the amount of AAA tows that you have, you've done well. And you sell it the next year for the next person to use all their AAA tows on.
Yeah, I don't even know what V8 was it. I don't know anything about
what size is it?
Oh, here's a
5.3 liter V8. I don't.
The twin cam on each head.
That's interesting.
Quad cam.
Maybe I'm less interested now.
Oh boy, yeah.
There's 290 horsepower, 321 foot-pounds of torque. Like that's pretty. That's pretty good. Cool. That's pretty good. I'm into it. Right now, it's at 15 grand with 7 days left. I mean, I don't know what it's worth, but I'm into it. Do you think that Cars and Bits would sell my Volkswagen?
Yes. That's an enthusiast car.
A manual transmission diesel wagon?
Yeah, that's an enthusiast car. Long roof with a manual. Yeah.
I was thinking of when I get back, having because I had that stupid broken front bumper from that dumb pallet, having the front bumper fixed and the clear coat issue fixed in the hood. Spend $800 on it to make it nice, and dump it on Cars and Bids and see what it does. Yeah, wouldn't hurt, right?
Nope.
Did it pay it off first? I don't know.
I mean, it'd be easier, but yeah, I don't think you have to. I mean, what's Carvana offering you for it?
Last ditch was 83.
That's pretty high.
It is, but they're selling them for 16.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the cheapest one I saw in there was like 13.9 with 120,000 miles,
Yeah.
and my car only has 80,000 miles, and they're offering me 83 for it,
What about all
which
the
is
other ones?
it's more
Pretty cheap.
it's more than I owe. So I'm not upside down by any means. I mean, it's an older car. I don't owe much money on it anymore. Um, I haven't done a bunch of them. The Vroom one I did, and they gave me a quote similar but a little lower. And then I was talking to somebody that I know about using Vroom, and it seems like it's a not as wise of a move
Hmm.
because their car was gone and in Vroom's possession, and they didn't get a check for like 2.5 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is not cool. Somebody else already owned the car before they got paid for it.
No, not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right.
So
Did you have any other auction cars, or
I don't. I just stuck
all
with the
right? I got a couple
Volkswagens.
more.
I just stuck with the
Yeah.
Volkswagens. I mean, if you want to talk about Mark IIs real quick, I looked at Mark IIs as well. There was an 85 GTI, one of the more recent sales on Bring a Trailer. There haven't been as many selling there because maybe they're less. I guess they're less Bring a Trailer of a car. But this sold the end of last year, so it was in the past year. It's a Mars Red, which is kind of more of a deeper red. Um, on BBS RAs, which is the one piece BBS with the small bumpers. Really nice car. I don't know what the mileage was. It was 118,000 miles shown TMU. Um, Coilovers, Tectonics exhaust, Tectonics camshaft, Momo steering wheel, all the stuff you would do to a Mark II, and it sold for $9,000.
Whoa, that's cheap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're good. I think
It's the
I,
best original hot hatch.
yeah,
Um,
and I think you
because
can't. I think
I want like a French hot hatch, but the GTI is a better version of
yeah,
that.
and
But I just want a French one because it's weird and it's French.
I don't think you can go wrong with a Mark One or a Mark Two, but I think a Mark Two is a little more dailyable.
Yeah,
It's a little more car. The AC probably works better. They're a little more insulated. It's a pretty car because I love them with the small bumpers and the small. They call them small doors, so they
yeah,
have like a wing window instead of having the full size window. And it's a quad round on the BBS wheels. It's got a little lip on the front. It's perfect.
yeah,
And for $9,000, like I'm saying, if I could sell my car, which is if I could sell it for 13, 14 grand, like they're asking for them, I probably wouldn't get that for it. But even if I got 9 or 10, I'd rather it go to somebody who's an enthusiast than sell it, just dump it onto our Carvana lot somewhere,
yeah,
and then be able to make my way into an older car again.
yeah.
Because a reliable older car is fine for daily out here because there's no road salt. So
Exactly. So, speaking of older cars, I spotted this. I sent it to you. It was on Bring a Trailer. It's a local car here, 84 BMW 530i, 533i, 5-speed.
yeah, that was the white one over red leather, right?
Yeah, really cool looking car.
Yep. Very good driver.
It bid to 6.6.
Hmm.
Didn't sell.
That seems low, which is why
Does
it
seem
didn't
low.
sell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were 6 grand 15 years ago.
Yeah. Cool car.
Maybe not 15 years ago, but I like them. They're hard to find in New England, not rotted away.
Yeah.
So if that car wasn't rotted away, then I say yay. Buy it because they're hard to find out there that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I remember I was looking for one a few years back. Remember we looked at a couple of them. When I wound up buying my Audi 4000. So cool.
So then I looked. I'll get to the other one, but we'll take a stop over to Rad for Sale real quick here.
Oh, I didn't even take a look at the Volkswagens over there.
I don't see any Volkswagens right now, but the coolest thing I think they've got right now is the 87 Regal T-Type.
Okay. So it's a not black Grand National?
Yeah, with 25,000 miles on it.
I dig it.
Super
it's two-tone
cool.
gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where that one goes because those cars go for huge money when they're low miles like that.
Yeah.
That GTV is pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
A low mile car. Those are neat.
Then I went and looked on. I was like, strangely, Bring a Trailer doesn't have maybe I'm missing it. They don't have a year selector. I just want to browse by year. Because maybe I don't know what I want in a year range of car.
Right. I've always done that. I always did it on Craigslist. I'd be like, I want a car from 1960 to 1965.
Yeah,
Show me everything.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I was like, well, what's the oldest thing on here? What's kind of out of our wheelhouse a little bit? 34 Pierce Arrow 836A.
It has I was looking at the listing.
Yep.
It has a comfortable amount of oil leaked in the bottom for me to drive it.
Yeah.
I dig it. It's covered in grease and oil. I love it.
It's like mostly original looking.
Yep.
It's very, very cool.
It ends in 5 days, and it's currently at $2,200, which is dangerous.
Seems
I assume it's going to go a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's actually somewhere out here in Arizona. It's pretty faded. It's pretty dinged up, and it's very honest car.
It's got a cool aesthetic.
Yep. It looks really good. It's got the artillery style wheels and what looks like, if not original paint, then just probably painted in 1958.
Yeah.
So I definitely dig it, and I would totally drive it. I don't know anything about these cars.
I don't know anything about them.
I know it's a straight 8, which is cool. It's a 3-speed manual, which is cool. Somebody put a different starter in it, like a more modern starter. It sounds like it's still 6-volt. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff, but
I think maybe it's like my dad's Buick that he got, it's 38 Buick, where you step on the gas pedal to start it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how these start.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking through the pictures. I like it.
I'm into it. Definitely drive it. Cool. Well, I can't give you any insight into that one because I don't know anything about that world of Pierce Arrows. I know that some of the fancy ones, when they're fully restored, are 6-figure cars. So, and actually, the gentleman who was here when I told the story of doing the CV axles in the Jetta station wagon,
yeah,
he has a 33 or 34 Pierce Arrow that's fully restored.
Interesting.
That he drives all over the country.
Huh.
And actually, he's probably currently, because is it July? Yeah, it's July. He was driving it sometime in July. I don't remember when. He lives in the Bay Area in California, and he was driving the car to New York for the Pierce Arrow Nationals.
Wild.
So yeah, that's cool. And he's driven it a couple times across country. So cool. All right, Andrew. I think that's an episode tonight.
Sounds good to me. So yeah, go check out Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee. That's coming up Sunday if it doesn't rain. New England Forest Rally is next weekend. They just came out with the Spectator Guide, so that's all over Facebook, whatever. You can go find it if you're in the area. What else?
Oh, PAVs next Saturday morning out here in Phoenix.
Yep.
Big one coming up.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it. So, as always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.